Welcome to Empowering Pastors. I want to thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself. I believe without any reservation that the greatest investment is you, because the more you invest in yourself, the more you're going to impact others. The challenge with today is that so many people are not investing in themselves. They're just getting busy in life. And without you growing, there's nobody else around you that's going to be able to grow. So you've got to take the time to sow into your own life. Remember, you shall receive what you sow. What you reap, you sow. So if you're never investing in yourself, and so I'm very proud of you that are in the room, you're willing to sow into yourself. For those that are watching online, thank you so much. I know that today, just as simple as it is going to challenge you. And the reason it's going to challenge you is there's a necessity that you and I evaluate what we're actually accomplishing and actually doing. The challenge is a lot of folks are busy, but they're not productive. And whether you like it or not, your value is going to be seen in your production, not your busyness. If you are not a producer and you're part of a regular corporation, let's just say you're part of a regular job, I'm not talking ministry, and you are not producing, no matter how nice you are, how kind you are, they're going to fire you. Because everyone is looking for production. There has to be results from what you're accomplishing. If there are no results, then you can look as busy as you desire, but that means that you are not doing your job. In today's society, we are in a real world of it's very hard to find good workers. That is secular and Christian. Should never be Christian, but it is. And in that, when an employer finds somebody that can actually not just look busy, but actually produce results, then they keep them, which means they pay them more. They pay more attention. They will take care of them better, because it is a true challenge to find somebody that actually produces results. So today, this is what we want to talk about. You cannot be busy and just be busy. You have got to produce. Excuse me. I trained my children that they had to be producers. And when they left a job, they had to be able to, it should have taken at least 2 people to replace them. And I made it so that if my kids left a job, the people that were hiring them would beg them to stay. And that is exactly what occurred. So this is important. Now, if you're going to work for a church, then it's even more important, because you're not doing man's job, you're doing God's job. And let's just be more confrontational. If you are going to be working for somebody else and you're born again, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might as unto the Lord. So no matter what you're doing, you cannot be a person that's not going to produce. So when you step into leadership roles, there are 2 things that you're responsible for. So as you are a leader, 2 things you are responsible for. Number 1, yourself. You have got to be an individual that's going to push yourself. We have a lot of lazy folks today in the kingdom. The challenge with the lazy folks is they don't think they're lazy. Why? Because they're busy. Well, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Listen, you can be busy and you can validate yourself. But if there's no production or not enough production, then you will find that you will not keep your job long. Number 2, you're responsible for yourself, but number 2, you're responsible for other people. Because as your leader means you have followers. So if you're a busy leader but not a productive leader, then what's going to happen is your people are going to be busy and not productive. You're reproducing yourself. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. So now you have an entire, whether it's ministry or whether it's a community or a job, you're going to have all the people under you producing nothing. So you're not only going to get fired, everybody under you is going to get fired. Why? Because people follow their leader. You reproduce yourself. So one of the challenges that I have found is that people truly like to lie to themselves. We truly deceive ourselves. We can actually convince ourselves that we are busy, busy, busy people, and then we lie because we're not productive. Productivity brings a level of value to yourself. That's why it's so important. Not only are you producing for the company or the ministry that you're working for, not only are you creating results, but you're also going to find greater value within yourself if you are a producer. So we have a lot of folks that literally consider themselves successful because how busy they are, but truthfully, they are unsuccessful. So if you as a leader are unsuccessful, what are you producing? Nothing. What are you producing in your followers? Nothing. So what are you actually doing? Nothing. Well, actually you are. You're stealing. Because somebody's money is what you're using. If you're hired, that means somebody's paying the bill. So if somebody's paying the bill and you've deceived yourself thinking because you're so busy that you're productive, but you're not productive, no matter how busy you are, then you're actually taking from whomever has hired you. So let's talk about Christianity. Let's talk about God's kingdom. Let's talk about ministry. If you're unproductive, then you're stealing God's money. Grandma tithed off her Social Security check. That's how the kingdom of God is funded, is tithes and offerings. So when you're not producing anything, then you're taking from somebody's tithe, which is let's be real, that's pretty brazen. Grandma gave to God her tithe of, let's just say, $80 that month. Do you know how far Grandma could buy a whole nother week's food for $80? But Grandma gave it to Jesus because that's what God wants in tithing. But then it gets being used and now is put on your plate because you're the individual using Grandma's tithe, and now you're busy but you're not productive. You're wasting Grandma's tithe. We have to realize that there is an accountability if we're busy but not productive. And before the Lord, you're stealing. I didn't get any amens on that one. Amen. Amen. So I want to talk about busy and productive. Mary and Martha are probably one of the greatest examples of that in the Bible. Jesus was there and he was teaching, and Mary chose to sit down and listen at the feet of Jesus. And Martha was very busy. She was busy running around. Come on now. Busy people always validate themselves. Well, I'm doing a good thing. Well, I'm doing a lot. Where's Mary? Mary's sitting at the feet of Jesus. Well, Jesus said, Mary's doing the better thing. So just because you're busy doesn't mean you're doing the better thing. Mary was going to be more productive because she was doing what was the most valuable. The difference between somebody that's busy and somebody that's productive is recognizing the value of what you're putting your hands to. There are a lot of things that have no value that will keep you busy, but will never produce production. So we as people need to understand that everything that we do has to be connected to the mission and the vision. In ministry, one of the greatest things that creates pastors to be non-productive is what we call putting out fires. It has nothing to do with the mission, nothing to do with the vision, but what it has to do with is that there's a problem over here, so we're running over there. There's a problem over there, so we're running over here. We've got to fix this person. This person's complaining. We got to go fix that person. And you start taking all the time, and you're so busy now, you cannot put your hand to something that's going to produce the mission or the vision. That is creating a loss in all essence. You're now focusing all your time on the complaining, the complacent, and the crazies, and then you're not placing your time into the people that are committed and coming to commitment. So you're going to be busy if you're running around putting out fires, but you're not going to be productive. So everything that we sit down and we put our hands to, if we're going to be productive, it has to connect to the mission. I've watched people, and how many here have ever scrolled before? How many have started scrolling and you had maybe 5 minutes to scroll, but then after an hour you were still scrolling? Or 2. Or all of a sudden, you don't want to go to bed at 11, you started scrolling at 10:30, now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. What have you accomplished? Nothing. Did you get the sleep you needed? No. So now you're complaining that you don't have enough sleep. But you see, you got busy but non-productive. And that's the engulfing of our world and our mentality. We're now filled with a lot of folks that have to have a change up every 10 seconds or they're going to get bored. Well, the problem is, if you're not going to be focused on the mission and the vision to accomplish production, then you're going to be jumping from this, and this, and you're never going to get anything done, but yet you're going to look busy. The clarity of vision in a person's life is the key to productivity. If you're not focused, you can't be productive. When a person does not create a Pareto, now for those who are fresh here, a Pareto is 80-20. What you need to do when you get up in the morning is write down the 10 things that you need to accomplish for that day. Out of the 10 things, you take the 2 most important things and you circle them. You do nothing outside of just those 2 things. Once those 2 things are accomplished, then you can move to number 3 or number 4. But you should never move from those 2 things, if they're the most important for the day, until they're accomplished. This brings productivity up 30% in your life. A person that just simply flows, I'm a flower. Well, I'll get to work and see what needs to be done. If you do that, you are going to be busy but non-productive. You must have a list. You must have a list. It is a challenge for people that are visionaries. People that are visionaries love to fly, do their thing, and what happens, happens. Usually managers are the quickest ones to write down lists. So if you have a manager's gift, administrative gift, you normally will write down what you need to accomplish, and it is a normal process of life. But for those that are visionaries, struggle with this because they like to just kind of flow. Well, the flowers produce very little. You must be a person, even if you are a visionary, to train yourself. Now, that's what I'm saying. There are 2 people that are truly affected when it comes to productivity: yourself and the people you're leading. So as a leader, if you are not going to train yourself to create a Pareto, to create what needs to be accomplished for the day, and the top 2 have to be accomplished before you move to anything else, then as a visionary, you're going to find that the day is going to pass you so quickly, and you're going to be so busy, but yet you're going to feel unfulfilled, because when you look back on the day, you will find that it was filled with futility rather than productivity. So you're not going to feel satisfied. So there's a necessity to make sure that you are willing to train yourself, which means discipline. Woohoo! Nobody loves to discipline themselves. But if you're unwilling to discipline yourself, you will find a decade goes by and you have produced nothing. It is very easy. A decade to the young feels like forever. But a decade to the older, it goes wisping by. So as a younger, if you train yourself correctly, then you'll find your productivity will go so high that whenever you're in a ministry or in a job, they are going to beg you to stay because it would take 2 people to replace you. The next is busy people have priorities. productive people have few priorities. So busy people, they got a lot to do. Whenever anybody says to me, I got so much on my plate, I'm just overwhelmed, I immediately know that they are non-productive. When you are overwhelmed, you are a non-productive human. Why? It means that you don't have priorities. You don't have focus. You're scattergunning. And a scattergunner is never going to produce great results. They're going to get some stuff done, but they're going to be unproductive in the long run. So as an individual, Henry Ford said it this way. Henry Ford built a fortune not by building better cars, but by building a better system for making cars. Busy people try to make better cars. Productive people develop better systems for making cars. So when you and I deal with everyday life, we've got to say to ourselves, these are the priorities that I've got to accomplish to make my employer happy. Because whether you like it or not, if your employer is not happy, you're not keeping your job. I remember one time I had a job, and I believe selling subs is the one I'm talking. No, it was the one, I used to work at Mr. Donuts, not Dunkin' Donuts, but Mr. Donuts in high school. And I used to work the 11 to 7 shift on Friday night and Saturday night. So after a while, there's just not a lot to do because the only people coming in are the drunks after 2 a.m. But my boss looked at me and said, Spencer, you can't stand at the register. Look busy at least. Look busy, sure. I've wiped the same counter 10 times. But here's the fact. Nobody wants to pay you for standing around. If they're paying you, they want to see some level of productivity, even if it's the same counter 10 times. They don't want to pay you to have you stand. They need to see a result. So I had to really clean Mr. Donuts every Friday and Saturday night. I cleaned and I cleaned and I cleaned. And I made sure that my boss was pleased. Busy people focus on action. Productivity or productive people focus on clarity before the action. This is a great gift that Pastor Cody has. Pastor Cody is always looking at the finality. And then he's looking at the systems that are going to create the finality. And then he implies or inputs, this is what you've got to do to get here as quickly as possible. This is one of his great gifts. So if you're not a great productive individual, you need to watch Pastor Cody because he is one that is also a visionary, but has trained himself in how to create the processes to create the results. And so as a believer and as a person, we need to make sure that if you're just focusing on action, well, I'm here at the computer, well, I'm here in doing this, well, I'm here, you're missing it. Because remember, you're supposed to have teams. And if you're doing everything, but you have no processes, then you're just going to be busy, your team's going to be bored, and really nothing is ever going to get done. Each movement we make will lead to the next productive result, or we'll waste time. It's a domino effect. One non-productive motion equates to a string of actions that produce no results. So if you're doing something that's going to produce no results, it is now going to be the domino through your entire ministry or your entire organization. What are you doing? What result are you after? What is the quickest way to get there? In fact, it is actually more productive if you hit your top 2 things that you've got to accomplish for that day. Before you put your hand to the plow, say, what is the best avenue I can do to reach these 2 goals before 11 o'clock? I used to have a staff member who all he did was wander. It irritated me. He just wandered around all day long. I said to him, what are you doing? Oh, I got a lot to do. But what are you doing? Well, you know, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this. And I said, but are you doing them? Oh, yes, I'll have them done by the end of the day. So one day I decided, let me do a little micromanaging and see how well he does this. Understand this, if you're going to be micromanaged, it means you're not a producer. Just let me say that to you. If you're going to be micromanaged, your boss is telling you without saying to you, I'm not getting the productivity I need from you. I need to find out what you're actually accomplishing. That is not a compliment. And so I looked and I said, okay, here we go. I need these 15 people reached before 11 o'clock. I gave them the names, gave them the numbers, and just let him go. Off he went. I called him back in at 11 o'clock. I said, how many did you reach? 15, he said. I got all 15 of them. I said, okay, great. I need you to tell me how many you talked to. I talked to 2 of them. I said, how long did you talk to them? Well, you know, probably about 5 or 10 minutes. I was able to talk with them and encourage them. I said, that's awesome. I said, how about the other 13? Oh, well, I left a message for them. I said, how long does it take to leave a message? Well, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute. So let's just take a minute. That's 13 minutes. Plus 10, 10. How are we at? 13, 23, 33. 33 minutes of work in 3 hours. But he was busy. And he still didn't get it. By the way, he doesn't work here anymore. Why? Because if you've got to be micromanaged, it means you don't understand productivity. And if you don't understand productivity, then you're just going to be busy. And if you're just going to be busy, you're going to validate to yourself, I'm overwhelmed. But honestly, you can't be overwhelmed with your work if you do the Pareto. Because you are going to be so focused on accomplishing those 2 tasks that if you accomplish those 2 tasks for the day, you're going to find yourself have been productive. Therefore, you'll be satisfied. Therefore, tomorrow, you're going to know how to attack the next day. Some days you're going to accomplish 8 out of the 10. Some you're going to accomplish only 3 out of the 10. Some you're only going to accomplish 2 out of the 10. But the productivity is not in the amount. The productivity is in the result. So when you understand that the result is ultimately what your boss is after or your day is after, then it's not about doing 10,000 things. It's about doing the few things very, very well to get the result that's necessary to please your boss. Here's another one. Busy people talk about how busy they are. Productive people let their results do the talking. Stephen King says it this way: a writer is a producer of words. Produce words. You are a writer. Don't produce words. You are not a writer. Boy, that was simple, wasn't it? If you take yesterday's hours and measure the results that you desired, you can now determine whether you were productive or just simply busy. What were your results? That's the bottom line, folks. You can say all you want. You can be a spiritual desire. What are the bottom line? What did you do? If you know you've got this list to accomplish by the end of the week, and you've only done one of them because you were so busy, you failed. We're in a non-failure mindset in our world. We try to pass everybody through school because we don't want anybody to feel bad that they failed. At Little League these days, everybody wins. Sorry. No. Who got most runners across home base is actually who won, not everybody. We live in a world where we don't want anybody to feel like they've lost. Facts. Ready? Here's the facts. There's winners and there's losers. There are people that produce and people that are busy. There are people that are going to keep their job, people that are going to lose their jobs. There are people that are going to make more money and people that are going to not make money. Not everybody's a winner. Not everybody's a winner. Winning takes work. I know people that graduated high school that could not read or write. Local. Literally, I taught them how to write. They could not write. But the school didn't want them to feel bad, so they passed them. That might work in your high school, but it's not going to work in your marriage. It's not going to work in your ministry. It's not going to work at your job. And if you're a leader, you're not going to be a leader long because you're going to be walking by yourself. So there must be results. Here's another one. Busy people talk about how little time they have. Productive people make time for what's important. Here's a quote. Anytime we spend on excuses is time we not spent on creation. If you allow yourself to practice excuses, you'll get better and better at excuses. Productive people don't use time to make an excuse. An action either supports their highest value and mission or does not. If it does not, they do not. And if they have the whole day off, which means every day because of non-production, then they're just sucking time. So, the more a person has concern about their time and talk about how little time they have, it literally means they're telling on themselves. They're a non-productive person because they're busy, but they don't have a plan. Here's another one. Busy people multitask. I want you to know there is no such thing as multitasking. I did a whole study on this. Everyone says, well, computers multitask. No, that's not true. Computers just do an action so quick. They are not overlaying themselves. They're doing one thing at a time. Anybody doing two things, multitasking on two things, you can get them done, but you won't get them done well. And statistically, once you do three things at the same time, you're doing none of them well. There is no such thing as multitasking. There's something called the Pomodoro technique, and it's this. This technique teaches you to break down your day into 25-minute time sections. 25 minutes. If you take those 25 minutes and you are productive just for 25 minutes, and then you take 5 to 10 minutes off, and then you go back to the next 25 minutes of being productive, take 5 or 10 minutes off, then 25 minutes. That means you're not checking your email, you're not answering a text. For those 25 minutes, you're just focused. It's called the Pomodoro. You're just focused on that one thing for 25 minutes. You will change your life. And at the end of the day, you will pound out those 10 things that you need to accomplish. Here's the last one. Busy people talk about how they will change. Productive people are making those changes. Let me read that one more time. Busy people talk about, well, I got to change. I got to do things different. But they never do. Why? Because they still abandon the plan. No plan, no action. If you don't have Pareto, you've already planned to never accomplish anything for the day. You're just going to come as it goes. It's called failure. You won't get it done. You're going to be too busy putting out fires everywhere or scrolling. Let me do one more quote. We are born with incredible potential. At the age of 20, the best compliment that could be paid is that you have a lot of potential. So at the age of 20, it's awesome when someone says, wow, you have a lot of potential. Here's a great failure in the church world. We hire people because of their potential. So at the age of 30, it's still okay. You got potential. At the age of 40, you have a lot of potential is now becoming an insult. At the age of 60, telling someone that they have a potential is probably the cruelest insult you could make in their life. You know what that means? At the age of 20, if you don't stop being busy and stop being productive, all of a sudden you're going to be 60 years old and someone's going to say to you, wow, you have a lot of potential. But that means your life is almost gone and you produce no results. And a lot of people end up producing no results. Watch out. But they have good hearts. I don't care about your heart. Your heart's between you and God. Your production is from your boss. And purpose, destiny, and vision. So the question isn't whether or not you got a good heart. The question actually is, are you a producer? Or are you just a busy human? And busy humans, there's enough of them. Producers, there's few of them. If you want to stand out in this world, Christian, ministry, or secular, if you want to stand out, you got to be a producer. Other than that, you'll just be busy like everybody else. And the boss is just going to have to replace you. Or you're going to get bored, go to another job. Oh, you're going to get bored with that one. Go to another job. Oh, didn't produce. Boss fired you on that one. Oh, get another job. And then 60 years old, and someone's going to say, wow, you have amazing potential. And your whole life is gone. I don't know about you. I want to see results. I'm a result-driven human. I demand results. Somebody said to me one time about when I hired Pastor Cody, nepotism. For those who don't know what that is, that means you've hired somebody because they're your child and not because they are producers. And I looked at them and I said, I want you to know something, that if he doesn't produce in youth, he is not going to stay on the payroll. But he's your son. I don't care. This is not about family business. This is about kingdom business. You must produce. Now, if you don't believe that and how important this is, today, if I was not a producer, you would not be sitting where you are. One man said to me, who do you think you are? You're really nothing, Spencer. You really haven't accomplished anything. Baby, there would not be a building in the middle of this cornfield if I was not a producer. If I was not going to bring forth results, you would not have to be worried about an internship, about a job at this church. You would not be dealing with me standing here teaching you anything, because I would just be a pastor of a 20-member church, just enough to get me a salary, and I'd be fishing every day. One day I was an evangelist. I'll end with this story. It was upstate New York, up near the lakes. And as an evangelist, this church invited me to come preach. I had like 2 to 3 weeks off. I took them off on purpose. I just needed time with the family. So I went up on a Sunday morning, and there were 35 people in the room. And I said, after service and stuff, I said, what happened to your preacher? And they said, well, we let him go. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, he was never in the office. He was always fishing on the lake. And I said, what do you mean? Well, he'd preach on Sunday, but on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he had a boat and he was out fishing on the lake saying that he was just seeking the Lord. He wasn't seeking the Lord, he was seeking a trout. And he could not even keep his job in that little town. It was a tiny little dinky town. He couldn't even keep his job there because he had no production. But yet, he was busy every single day, not accomplishing anything. Don't let yourself hit the lie in your own heart saying, I'm busy. Who cares if you're busy? Are you productive? Leadership demands productivity. And if you're a leader, it is expected. So throw away your excuses. Throw away your reasons. Make a Pareto. Live the Pomodoro, 25-minute segments, and see your production go up 30%. Once your boss sees that, good bosses always reward productivity, and they always cut off busy. Thank you very much. I believe that today, if you apply these principles, you will be a person that your boss, or you as the leader of a ministry, leader of a church, leader of a company, they'll always have desire to be around you. Why? People love success. And success isn't busyness. Success is production. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowering Pastors and Leaders with Dr. Michael Spencer. If you're looking for helpful, life-changing, and empowering resources, Dr. Michael Spencer's books are available here. Just click on the link below and get your copies today. Don't wait. These resources will bring about the change and success you've been looking for. If you'd like to know more about empowering pastors and leaders, please visit michaelspencerministries.com. Also, if you'd like to become a partner with Empowering Pastors and Leaders, sign up online for the opportunity to do so. Thank you in advance for your financial support to help us reach into the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and Africa, and the different parts of the world. Empowering Pastors and Leaders will equip you to transform your personal life, ministry, or business to become the best leader God designed for you to be.